I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. So, we all knew that this week was going to be old school, right? We had already gone over that. So, I think just about everybody here is already a crew member. You know, I don't think that we got too many new people popping up right now. But, just in case, no politics, no religion, no politics, no religion, no cursing. Right? We're not going to have you cursing. And let's see here. There we go. No cursing, no politics, no religion, and mean people stink. We don't want them around. There's no reason whatsoever to be cruel. Cruel for the sake of cruel just has no place here. That's the bottom line. So that's basically the rules. Now, also, I'm not a doctor. Nothing that I say here today is supposed to take the place of medical advice given by an actual doctor. There is no anything that is going to take the place of a doctor giving advice. That's the best possible case scenario. What we talk about here is the tools required to maintain sobriety. Right? That's what we talk about here. And we try to support one another in a loving way. Because let's be honest, a pretty large segment of this society doesn't feel like they need to support people who are trying to quit. In fact, quite often it's the exact opposite. Leisure, good to see you. I hope that you're doing better, my friend. I really do. But it is great to hear you here. To see you here. No cursive, says Stacy Michaels. That's right. No cursive. I should tell seventh son that because he seems like the only person that has the ability to put cursive out there anyway. So, yes, people. You probably saw today's thumbnail, which looked... I have a squirrel hair in my mouth. Which looked remarkably like my shirt. Cemetery 76, good to see you. The reason is, once again, the big red button wouldn't let me upload the thumbnail. Same thing happened yesterday. Now I was able to upload it immediately after, so it's probably what I'm going to have to do again this time. But had you seen the thumbnail, you know, the live as if is something that we've talked about many times here on the lifeboat. But we're going to go over it again because I continually get emails from people that say things like, I'm absolutely miserable. You know, I can't seem to achieve happiness, or I can't seem to do this, or I can't seem to do that. Very often it has something to do with you know, either their emotional well-being or starting over. You know, people will say like the whole new creation thing is something that people really like, but they like it as a concept, but it's not something that they can pull off, right? They seem like it's sort of one of those things that's way off in the distance, and there's no chance that that's ever going to happen. Thank you, Hermit Hill. Miss Hermit Hill says, hit the like button, and we would appreciate that, people. If you would decide to hit the like button, that's something that we do really appreciate. You are chatty these days. Good for me being earlier than usual. Good to see you, Niall. The live as if concept, people, is something that can be applied to just about everything. You know, I've done shows where I talk about how you're not going to quit your substance of choice and have happiness show up at your front door, knock on it, introduce themselves. Hey, I'm happiness. I'm here to take over the rest of your life. And from this point forward, it's going to be rainbows and puppies and, you know, glitter and all kinds of fun stuff. Maybe the occasional unicorn. It's just not how it goes down, right? But if you want to start living a life that is far more happy, very oftentimes you got to force yourself to do that. And very often that starts with forcing yourself to even get out of bed. Forcing yourself to get up, because early on in the process of quitting your substance of choice, getting out of bed is tough. All right, facing the day is a difficult thing to do because for so long we used chemicals as a way to get out of bed and face the day. We weren't ready to to live life on life's terms. Certainly, we were going to live them on our own, and we're going to do that with drugs. So it's a difficult process for most people to just, start to try to achieve happiness. You got to, the term "fake it till you make it" is not one that I like, but because I don't think we're faking it. That's not what you're doing, but you're living as if. And this can apply to just about any aspect of life. Look, my son heard me on here. Solomon. Oh, excellent. Great to see you. That's awesome. I love it when family shows up here. That is one of the coolest things ever. I had family on here last night. As an example, people, about almost a year ago, the lifeboat was just a concept, right? We embarked on this journey last July. And like so many other things in life, day one, I'm not a YouTuber. I don't know anything about YouTube. I really don't. I understand what I want to get across to people, but I don't understand any of the nuts and bolts stuff. And by today's thumbnail, you can see that I still don't have a handle on it. I'm not great at this YouTube thing. There is quite a bit about the YouTube stuff that I have absolutely no aptitude for whatsoever. But as the guy that sits in front of the camera, I just started from day one to live as if I was a YouTuber, right? To live as if this is what I do. To live as if I'm comfortable and I've been doing this forever. Whether or not it comes across that way, that's what I had to do. And the reason for that was not so much so that you people would go, oh yeah, he's comfortable. It's to literally put one over on your own mind. Honestly. I mean, the purpose of this is to calm you down. If you've ever been, as public speakers or somebody that had to get up and do a presentation or anything like that, there's butterflies that you get in your stomach, and there's sort of a discomfort level that you have to overcome. The concept of living as if is a way to basically trick the mind. And as that applies to drug addiction, it's a lot more serious, right? For a very long period of time, the part of our brain that ruled us was not the logical section of the brain. The part of our brain that ruled us was, the desire part of the brain, the part of the brain that doesn't rationalize and doesn't think through things. Philosophy, love it. It always comes back around to this subject, the essence, what and who we are, and who and what we aspire to be, and how we handle everything in between. Yeah, I mean, that pretty much encapsulates what I'm talking about. The ability to be who you want to be very often requires you to live as if you're already that person, right? You're going to start being a YouTuber, live as if you're already a YouTuber. The same principle applies to being sober. How do you start living a life of sobriety? You choose to live a life of sobriety. You choose to put forth into the world that this is who I am, this is how I live, and you will exude a level of confidence. Do you really feel that confidence? Probably not. Not in the beginning, not in any way, and maybe never. Maybe for the rest of your life, you're going to feel as if, this is something that's still, kind of overwhelming. The key to being happy is knowing you have the power to choose what to accept. Then what you like to let go. What you're going to accept and what you're going to let go. The power to choose between the two of them. And I think there's probably a lot to that. But there is, and we've talked about almost everything we've talked about weaves in and out of this concept. We've talked about the fact that 5% of your life is going to be what happens to you, right? Divorce makes up to 5% of your life, right? That's a bad thing. How you react to that divorce is going to fall into the 95% section of your life. Fake it till you make it. It's a term that gets used quite a bit. But the difference between fake it till you make it and living as if is I was a phony for my entire life. I faked it. Everything. I faked that I was sober. I faked that I had it together. I faked that I wasn't going to rob you. I faked that I was trustworthy. I faked everything. And that was sort of how I navigated through life. And I don't think I'm unique. I think this is something that is recurring. A lot of people in sobriety spent a lot of people who are in sobriety now spent the majority of their life BSing the world, right? Great, as if we intended as addicts to live in a fantasy world, which we controlled. Getting sober questions that fantasy. We think like children. And that fantasy he's talking about is kind of what I'm talking about. You know, through the entire time that I was using drugs, he's right. And we've talked about this before, but there was this fantasy world that you built. And in that world, you're the coolest guy in the entire world, right? You've got everything under control, regardless of whether you even have the slightest, inkling of anything being under control. I'm not going to say it's the vibe you put out, because you don't. Most people realize that you're out of control and that you're full of it and you can't be trusted. But in your own head, you really feel like this fake life that you're projecting to the world is something that people buy into. You really think that this is how people view me. It usually doesn't slap you in the face until after you get sober and you meet people who go, you see people that you've known your whole life who say things like, wow, you really look a lot different. You must have gotten sober. And you think to yourself, how did this person know that we weren't fooling anybody, And if we were fooling a very small percentage of the people. But that fantasy world comes crashing down. And I don't want to start my new chapter of my life, right? The new creation section of my life, whatever you want to call it, right? But I don't want to start that journey by just BSing that as well. And I realize it might be semantics, because the difference between fake it till you make it and living as if comes down to, maybe just wordplay. But I think it's kind of bigger than that. Sometimes the words that we choose really affect how we view things. And if I go into this as, I'm just going to fake this, it's very likely that that's what I'll do. And maybe act as if, act out a little sobriety. Yeah, and act as if you're happy, right? Act as if you're content. Act as if the new life is better than the old one. Because I'll be really honest with you. I didn't wake up on day one and say, well, this is great. This is so much better than the life I was living. No, I woke up and said, this sucks. How am I going to get through lunch, much less the rest of my life? I can't do this. I spent, the majority of the first 3 or 4 repeating in my head over and over again. I can't do this. There's no way I can pull this off. And then at the end of that day, I'd say, I can't believe I made it another day. I can't believe I made it another day. And it was a while before I started to actually acclimate, kind of to a new life. And I had somebody, I've talked quite often about the gentleman that helped me get sober. And I had a guy that he wasn't going to put up with me lying in my cell and not doing anything. He wasn't going to put up with me living the same life that I lived before without drugs, right? Because that's basically what I was doing. So it transformed into, get up, we're going out. You're going to do some yoga, right? And he was sort of forcing me into activities that I wanted no part of. But the more I did those things, the more I got out into the world and started to apply myself to all of these things that, air quotes, normal people did, right? Working out, was a big one. Getting outside, in that kind of an environment, you're allowed out during specific times during the day. And as an addict, I didn't go out much at all, if ever. You did dope and you stayed inside. There was no reason to go outside. Everything that you need was right here, right inside the little unit. So I didn't really have any interest in getting outside. But having Q forcing me to do that and change the scenery, oxygen in my lungs, wind on my face. And I started to live as if I was normal. I started to live as if I might be able to pull this off. And I started to live as if maybe someday there was the potential of being happy without drugs. Maybe the new life could someday be better than the old life. And the longer I was away from opiates, the less of a grip it had. And perspective grows every day. Like I said, when you first quit, you think, nobody knew, right? Now people are really going to notice now because I'm sober, and most people didn't know that I was on dope until they saw me sober. At least that was my thought process. But the longer I was away from active addiction, the more my perspective became quite real. And I had an understanding. Tommy, don't ever say you were bad at YouTube. You were doing a fantastic job of keeping this boat afloat. Thank you, Nick. That's a beautiful thing to say. I appreciate that. I think about the nuts and bolts of it. You know what I mean? Like the technical stuff. When my bobbleheaded partner is not here, there's not going to be an intro. There's not going to be an outro. There's not going to be any music. Right? I'll have to do my own disclaimer because there's not going to be that little recording deal that I did. It's that kind of thing. I don't think I suck at the message. To be really honest, I think I'm pretty good at the message. Did I think that in the beginning? I don't know. But I came out and lived as if I did. Right? I came out and lived as if I knew exactly what I was doing. And, the first person that I really had to convince that I was a YouTuber was me. Right? If I could convince myself that this is something that I could do and do halfway decent, then maybe I could convince a couple of other people that, and we could start to get a little momentum. This was never about getting rich, right? This is about this, literally. A group of people getting together every day and taking just an hour every day to concentrate on the one subject that we probably need more than anything in order to get off of this planet with any form of success at all, right? For us, for all of us, we're in the same boat, right? For all of us, the drugs were not something we could control. We're not those people. There are people out there that can. I'm just not one of them. It's all about the message. No bells and whistles needed. Thanks, Nika. Really, thanks. I appreciate that. I really do. The whole concept of living as if is to get yourself believing. Because the first person that you have to convince that this is possible is you. And while you're sitting there obsessing about the fact that this new life is not fun like the old one, you can really convince yourself that the old one was fun, which is ridiculous. I remember a man once telling me, when I was sober for 5 years, he told me that I looked like a man with no skin. He meant that everything hurts. That changed, but slowly. That's a really interesting way to put that. I dig that. I really do. You look like a man with no skin. There's a great visual to that. There really is. And 5 years sober. For some people, 10, 15, 20 years go by. I think that what I want most out of life is to help maybe one or two people get to that happiness at, say, the first year or the second year, right? Certainly by the third. I would like a bunch of people to be happy. And I do think it's possible. I think it's possible to be happy within the first year. I really do. But you have to live as if you already are. And I really believe that that's the key. The longer I get away from my old life, the less I remember anything fun about it. Nika, boom. I have had this conversation with so many people. The longer that I'm away from the active addiction, the more I only remember being sick, waiting in parking lots, abscesses. Those are the kind of things that really stick in your mind. Because truthfully, I mean, how long was it fun anyway? Right? A couple of weeks, depending on the drug, I guess. Maybe some people had fun for the first 6 months, a year, I don't know, depending on what drug you're on. For me, it really stopped being about fun really, really early on. Really early on. It became not being sick. And that was in every part of my life. You understand? I was miserable physically. I was miserable spiritually. I was miserable emotionally, right? There was no part of my life that I was happy in. Sickness was pervasive through every single part of my life, right? I was sick. And this crap that I either stuck in my arm or smoked was, the cure for that in really, really short doses. Like I could take, as soon as that stuff entered my body, and I mean as soon as it did, like within seconds, all of a sudden everything was right? Everything felt like, I like this approach. We have to realize that this takes work. The addiction was only ever a symptom. That is hard for many people to get this. And he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. When I talk about a good relapse versus a bad relapse, right? There are good relapses. Those are relapses that you figure out what exactly you did or what exactly triggered that relapse. What did you do that made that happen? If that happens, it's a good relapse. If you just, say, well, I'll do better next time, and, just start counting again from day one with no introspection and not thinking about any of this, it really is one of those things that, you're going to continue to have bad relapses until you have a good one, right? And very much like that is what Niall's talking about, because the dope, more often than not, is a symptom. The dope is not the problem. The problem is that you can't cope. The problem is that you're miserable in your own skin. The problem is that there is something that you need taken away, right? Because dope doesn't give you anything. Hey, my brother, good to see you. Really good to see you, Johnny. 2 days in a row, I love that. The dope takes something away. Dope doesn't give you anything. It doesn't give you anything. And every once in a while, someone will argue this with me. They'll say, dope gave me courage. No, it didn't. It took away fear. Doesn't give anything. All dope does is take away. And in the beginning, it takes away things that you want gone. It takes away pain. It takes away anguish. It takes away fear, right? All of those kind of cool things that you really want gone. Dope seems to be the answer, right? It takes away all that stuff. And the longer that you're on it, the more dope decides what else it's going to take from you. And there's no permission slip, right? Now dope starts taking your money, right? And it starts taking your significant others, the people in your life that you love, your relationships. Dope's got to have that. Dope's going to get rid of all the relationships. Because think about it. Those relationships threaten the dope. These people love you and they want you to quit. So dope's going to make sure that you get all those people out of your life. And you will work at destroying those relationships. Truthfully. It's usually done subconsciously. But if you realize that this lady wants me sober, you're going to figure out a way to get rid of her. Even if you don't understand why you're doing it. You're going to get rid of her. Because the only thing important is dope. And there's a reason. What's the reason? And that's really, the quicker that you can get to that point, the quicker that you can figure out what was the alcohol a symptom of? What are you unable to cope with? And, there are examples that are so freaking glaring, right? That, someone that was viciously abused as a kid, you see something like that and you go, oh, well, that kind of makes sense. But there are, in many circumstances, in fact, probably more often than not, it can be really small stuff. It could be stuff that was really insignificant. Stuff that didn't seem like it was such a big deal at the time, but it was one of those things that sort of stuck in there. And very often when we use drugs early in life as a way to overcome whatever's bothering us, say you're 15 and 16 years old and you feel a little inadequate for whatever reason, and you start using dope because it takes away that feeling of inadequacy. The trouble is, during that time, you should be developing coping skills, legitimate, no BS, no drug coping skills. And you don't. Instead, you learn to rely on the drugs, which is really bad. Addiction is insidious. In the early days, it is your closest friend. All your fears are numbed and the fantasy begins. And then one day, it will bring all of your fears back and much, much worse. It's beautifully spoken. It's the truth. And it really is the truth. When those fears come back, they're all encompassing. It's not like it was in the beginning. In the beginning, if you had chosen to go a different route other than drugs, it would have been quite easy to work through those problems. But when you put them away, they don't go away, right? And they don't just sit there in the back of your head, right? They go into a little room in the back of your head and they pump iron. And they do steroids, and they get bigger, and they get gnarlier. And by the time you really do look at this stuff, by the time you really evaluate this stuff, you're deep. And you're fighting things that are so much stronger and so much gnarlier than they were when you had a chance. My brother often says, the problem with running away from your problems is that when you turn to face them, you're tired, right? You're better off just facing those problems because it's a safer bet. All substances are liars. And they are good at it. You betcha. And they make you lie to yourself, and they make you get really, really good at lying to yourself, right? And you've heard, we say all the time on this show, as addicts, we BS everybody. We have to, right? You can't tell anybody the truth ever. Hey, what are you doing? Right? You're going to lie. Because what are you doing? I'm getting ready to go buy some drugs. I'm going to go sit in the parking lot for 2 hours and wait on a guy to show up and spit some balloons out of his mouth so that I can get right and face the day. Well, obviously you're not going to say that. So almost the answer to every question has to be a lie, because drugs are such a pervasive part of your life that if you told the truth about anything, the word drugs or the word heroin would be in the sentence. Can't do that. So you become a liar across the board. And that's normal, as crazy as it is, right? That's normal for addicts, as crazy as that seems. But when you start lying to yourself, you're in deep trouble. Tommy Bird says, yes, coping skills, learning them, and more important, how and when to use them are the key to less and less relapse. I agree with you 100%. Developing coping skills, and in a perfect world, really nailing whatever your issue was. Right? If you say to somebody who's fresh in the process of quitting, what would you say is the biggest problem in your life then? Well, heroin, right? Drugs are the biggest problem in my life. No question, right? Can't argue that. The next question should be, why were you taking them in the first place? Right? And if you convince yourself that, it was partying and it was fun. It was just, the lifestyle. I just started doing drugs and it was fun. And the next thing you know, this drug had me, That happens to people all the time. It really does. It's something that happens with opiates. People find themselves addicted by accident all the time. And then they get sick for 3 or 4 days and they move on. Because, it's one of those situations where they go, well, that sucked. Boy, I would never do that again. What a terrible drug. This stuff makes you sick if you don't, no, I'm never doing that again. That's stupid. Why do most people go that route? And then some people go, yeah, that was awful. I'm going to go get more. That withdrawal was so bad. I'm going to make sure I never go through it again. Not by quitting, but by trying to make sure I never run out of this stuff. The difference between the person that just walks away is there's nothing so messed up in their psyche or their life or their spiritual life or their emotional life or whatever. There's nothing so messed up that they need dope to deal with it. the faster you can figure out exactly what that thing is, right? Your issue, right? What is your issue? Why are you doing this? Because it's illogical, right? It's viciously illogical. Can you imagine trying to explain to somebody, like if an alien came from another planet and you tried to explain to them, well, this stuff takes away pain for about 6 hours at a time, right? It's like a painkiller. So it takes away pain for about 6 hours at a time. And it makes you feel like nothing is wrong in your life for about 6 hours. But if you do it for 3 or 4 days in a row, you'll need it. You'll never be able to go without it. And you'll get sick. You'll vomit. All kinds of stuff. Really bad stuff will happen. You won't be able to control your bowels. Like by the time you were done explaining this, the alien would look at you like, what the hell are you talking about? And people continue to do this? No, that doesn't make any sense at all. Why would you go back and do it again? It's like slamming your finger in a car door, opening the car door, and slamming it again, right? Opening the car door, slamming it on your finger again and again and again, right? That's addiction. The average person's going to go, damn, I'm not going to do that again. God, that hurt, right? Normal people, even if they dabble too long, they're going to say, I am never doing that again. The reason that some people really get hooked and really get to the point where they can't, Nika nailed that. Then it becomes 5 hours, then 4 hours. And pretty soon, there's just, you can't stop doing it. I remember moving to smoking it because instead of having to stick a needle in my arm every, hour, I could just smoke all day long. And it wasn't, it did the same thing, but it made me feel like I was doing more. And eventually you do, right? Eventually you get to the point where the amount of it you're smoking is just terrifying, the amount of money, same thing. If you try to explain this to someone that didn't understand it, take 6 $100 bills and light them on fire, right? Or 7 $100 bills and light them on fire. People would go, why in God's name are you doing that, right? Why would you burn your money? Well, because I want to get sick. If you explain why you're burning the stuff, it would be even stupider. Niall says, this is a vital point. We are not our addiction. We were terrified people who were given a solution to our terror. It's like owing money to the mob. They always collect. That really is. It really is. That's I've never used that analogy, but it's a good one. It's like owing money to the mob. I used to say it's like writing hot checks, right? But I love that. It makes really makes an awful lot of sense. They're going to come for that money. They're going to come for that money, and they're going to hurt you if you don't have it, right? You're going to pay the fiddler, and like no other thing on this planet, addiction is one of those things that when it shows up in earnest, like when you really, when you're addicted, there's a reality moment for most people when they realize that I can't get off this. I really am addicted to this stuff. Too many to say hi to. I wish YouTube would make a button that would tell all of your friends hello. Great concept. I like that one a lot. I really do. That's a great concept. But I digress. It's I have no idea what I was talking about. Truthfully. You ever do that? It's awful when you do it like live. I did it once on stage. It was just a terrible thing. Yeah, it sounds so stupid to normal people. And then there comes a time when it even sounds stupid to us, but we can't shake it. Yeah. So what I was saying, before I forgot what I was saying, and it happens to my brother all the time. What I was saying was there's that moment of reality. There is that unbelievable moment of reality where this is not something that's fun anymore. And I can't stop. And I really can't stop. I have to have this stuff. And when that happens, everything happens at once. Hope is gone, right? Hope is stolen. And usually I think for most people, there's a window of time right about then, right when that addiction hits and you realize that thought first empties your head and you realize that, and I'm going to use terms that a lot of people don't like, but I'm a junkie, right? Or I'm a lush, because you don't think of yourself as, well, I'm an addict, right? I was like, holy crap, I'm a junkie, right? Really, like the people in the movies, right? It's, when that moment hit, there was probably a period of time where I could have done something about it. If I had made a phone call right then and said to somebody, hey, I'm in deep trouble. But of course, addicts don't make that phone call. Self-centered fear. It's an AA cliche, but when I learned what it meant and why I had it, then it's an epiphany. I am hurt. There's a lot of epiphany moments, I think, in addiction, more than in anything else, right? But when I remember that shocking moment, and then you go from, good God, I'm a drug addict, to acceptance. Right? And when you go from the fear and that awful feeling of, good Lord, how did I allow this to happen to myself? Right? What have I done? When you pass by that, the next thought becomes, this is it. Right? I guess this is my reality. Right? This is what I'm going to do. Or very often you get the down the road, I'm going to quit this stuff, right? It's one of two things. They're going to be either, I'm definitely going to get off this. I'm not going to live like this for the rest of my life. I'm going to get off this. I promise you I am. I mean, not today, but at some point I'm going to get off this. I'm going to get a plan, or, and usually there's always some big event, right, that we always build up in our heads. That's going to be something that, for whatever reason, is so epic that we're going to go, I'm done. Right? I'm just waiting until my kid graduates high school. I'm just waiting until this happens. I'm just waiting until that. Right? There's never a bad time to quit doing dope. But if you're in active addiction, there's never a good time. Really, it's one of those things that's almost impossible to talk yourself into doing. Which gets me back to tonight's subject. Really, the live as if. Because everything we just talked about and everything that everybody weighed in on, right? This is horrible stuff, right? And everybody weighed in on it. And Nick, what did Nick say? It goes from 5 hours to 4 hours to 3 hours, right? Awful, that feeling, that awful feeling, all of the ways that this has been described. So you quit, and the following day, none of that goes away. The only thing that goes away is the medicine that was making you forget all of that, right? That fear, that awful fear that you've been drugging, that thing in the back of your mind that you couldn't cope with, that you have been drugging. You've been using a chemical to put that to sleep. The only thing that has changed is you don't have that chemical anymore. So not only are you sick, not only do you have to go through all of that crap, but you need to figure out a way to deal with this fear, because you're going to be terrified. And like Niall said, it's going to be so much worse than it was the first time. Really, really worse. And now you've got all of this, your mind wants you to use. So it's doing the doomsday crap, and it's just bombarding you. The only way to get through that is to live as if. Right? Live as if. Live as if I'm already doing this. Get up. Don't stare at the same 4 damn walls all day long, because you're not going to get through it. You're not. You're going to sit there and you're going to obsess, and the next thing you know, you're going to figure out a way to talk yourself into it. You know what? I'm just going to do it one more time, because this is a stupid time to quit anyway. Right? I mean, there's a big, holiday thing coming up in 3 days. I mean, why would I quit right before Christmas? That's just stupid. I wouldn't want to be sick during Christmas. And next it'll be New Year's, right? And it's just one thing after another, after another, after another. It doesn't really feel like there's ever a good time. So when you wake up the following day and the only thing missing is the drug, you got to get up. You got to not look at the walls. You got to get outside, get a little oxygen in your lungs, and walk around as if you're already that guy. Right? Not faking it, but living as if. You're already that guy. You got to convince yourself before you convince anybody else. There is good news. The best news. Once you know why, then you will know how. No question. No question. The answer to all of this is that the second epiphany, right? The first epiphany is when you finally realize and you've come to the realization that I'm a drug addict. I can't quit. I don't have the capacity to quit. This has got me. This owns me. But boy, that epiphany when you go, you know what? This is why I was doing dope. I was getting high because of this. This is the reason. When you figure that out, it really is life-changing stuff. And I know a lot of you are listening to me right now going, well, that's not me. That's not me. I just got high because I liked getting high. And then the next thing I knew, I couldn't quit. Or, I drank because I enjoyed it. And I liked the taste and I liked all that. And I drank too much and I drank every night. And the next thing you know, I was addicted and I just couldn't quit. I got news for you. It just really doesn't happen. Sorry, but it really doesn't happen. If you're sitting here right now and going, no, I promise you, I got no underlying issue. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. I promise you do. 99.999 times out of 100, there's something you're drugging away. You're not doing it because it's fun. Stop being fun early on in the game, right? I promise you, if it was just a matter of partying, when you have that epiphany moment and you go, good God, I'm a drug addict, you'd quit, right? You'd go through that awful withdrawal, or you'd go through a little bit of rehab, or depending on what your substance of choice was. You would go through the process to get off of the stuff, right? Logically. And you'd say, well, I'm not going to do that again, right? That was stupid of me. I'm not going to do that again. Because you were just partying and you got out of control. Why would you then choose to go back in and do it again? Doesn't make any sense, right? Because there's something in there that you're drugging. There's something that you're getting rid of. You think the logical thing is after all that, you go, you know what? The sick wasn't all that bad. I just want to party a little more. I just want to have fun on my drug a little more. If you convinced yourself that you've been saying that for what? 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, has nothing to do with having fun. It has to do with the fact that needle or that straw or that bottle, right, or that pipe, whatever it is, tinfoil, it's taken away something. It's taken away a fear. It's taken away anxiety. It's taken away memories. It's taking away a feeling of inadequacy. I don't know. I know what it was taken away from me. When you figure out what it was taken away from you, you're really in a much better place. Kyle Clark says, life is great. You got to love that. I'm glad to hear that, my friend. In fact, that's one of the coolest things anyone could ever say. Nika says, my parents smoked. I think that's why I never started. I assume you mean cigarettes? That's awesome. It really is. If you can learn from somebody else's mistakes instead of your own, you're a genius. Nick and my dad never drank because his grandfather was an alcoholic. There is something that is passed through family generations, I think. My sister now struggles badly. We all have to be careful. Consider marijuana to be dope. Personally, I always thought dope was heroin. You know what? I don't, I think maybe there was a time in my life where I might have called weed dope, but the first time I did heroin, from that point forward, that was dope. There was nothing else, that really just took over very, very quickly. And a lot of people in the state that I live in, when they say dope, they're usually talking about meth, because it's the most pervasive drug in this town, or used to be. I mean, I don't know anymore because there's so much of this opiate stuff going around. I said this before, with an active addict, pain has no memory. We walk away from horrific situations and walk right back into them. Yeah. The solution, this. Thank you. He's right. The solution is this. It's coming to groups. It's working through your stuff. It's admitting things. And he's right. You understand exactly what he's saying, right? With an active addict, right? Someone who's living an active addiction, Pain has no memory. We will walk from one horrific situation and right back into them. If you've been telling yourself that the only reason you do this stuff is because you were partying and you got out of control, no, you would walk away. You would. Because that person would have a memory of how bad the pain was and how bad everything else was. Niall nailed it. If you don't have that memory, if you will walk right back into the fire like a moth, right? If you're drawn back into that, there's something drawing you. And it's not the love of the drug, I promise. Oh. Sorry, people. I wipe myself off on a cat. How we doing? Anything hanging? We're good? Okay. Sorry, just checking out a couple of things. I'm great to Mark for pointing me this way because I don't feel so alone. Oh, I love that, man. What a cool thing to say. And there you have it, people. Yeah, poor squirrel. The squirrel's got it tough. There's no question. A little off subject. But believe it or not, I got a little harness set up so I can walk my cat. True story. So far, not going so well. She really likes being outside. She doesn't really like being on the leash thing. So, and then as soon as you bring her back in, she's just an absolute shrew for hours. Just screaming at the top of her lungs. And this cat's got lungs. You would not believe just how loud. Oh no, she's getting up. Such unusual animals. They could be laying there very, very comfortable, and the next thing you know, they absolutely have to clean something. Like they'll wake up to just clean their foot really quickly. That's why women don't remember childbirth. If they remembered the pain, they would never do it again. Makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Virginia says, people will reach out to you. T1R123. They really are so nice here. They really will reach out to you, and there will be, and you will reach out to people. I mean, that's the nature of, and then Niall really said it. There is an answer, and it's this. And I'm not, pumping up the lifeboat and talking about how great I am with this. This is a group of people, a group of like-minded individuals who are a power greater than yourself. They are a power greater than the chemical that you're fighting. If you come to believe that a power greater than yourself can restore you to sanity, right? I know some people don't like all the 12-step stuff, but if you come to believe that a power greater than yourself can restore you to sanity, for a lot of people, that power greater than themselves is God. But if that's not something that you can cope with, then I assure you, 5 sober addicts, right, are a power greater than you. I assure you, that is a power greater than you. Not certain, ready yet, but I made the first step by being here. Thank you all for being here. You know what? You don't have to be ready yet. I'll give you the official Captain Tommy lifeboat speech. All right. If you ever decide that you're gonna quit, then we're gonna be here for you. To hold your hand and to love you every step of the way through that entire process. And if you don't decide that you're going to quit, then we're going to be here for you. Walk with you, love you every step of the way. The difference between an addict that is sober and one that isn't, right, is it's a razor thin, line. It's a hair. And yeah, see you, brother. Yeah. All right, my brother. Thank you for stopping by. It means a lot to me. It really does. But it's a razor-thin difference separating the active addiction from sobriety. It really is. It's a very, very fine line. And really, we're happy you're here. Stick around. And if you ever find yourself saying, this is it, I want to pull the trigger, I'm ready, well, just reach out to us. We're always going to be here. Yep, Nika says we were all where you are, right? Right? And when you figure out that there's a way out of the darkest forest in the entire world, there's something that makes you want to walk right back in and see if there's anybody there, right? And you're going to show them the same way out. And that really becomes something that is almost all encompassing for a lot of people, right? It's not enough sometimes to be sober. You want to bring the message of sobriety to other people. And that really does happen with a lot of cats. It really does. Lisa R. Hi. How you doing, Lisa? I don't remember seeing Lisa R. Welcome to the Lifeboat. Appreciate you stopping by. Really, I do. Getting her protein from the snot rocket. Actually, it was just a slight wipe off. I didn't really like fire it at her. I wouldn't do that to my cat. Squirrel is probably still angry about the leash. True story. Really, true story. She's not happy about the leash. People, I hope that the concept tonight was something that makes sense, right? Really, one of the biggest stumbling blocks to this thing working is getting out of your own way, right? When you first quit, it's awful. I'm not going to tell you that it's great, because it's not. When you first quit, it's awful. But you got to live as if it's not. You got to live as if you've been sober 3 months. Because the only thing you're going to want to do is the one thing that you shouldn't do. Right? You're going to want to lay on a couch and feel sorry for yourself and stare at the same 4 walls. That is the only thing that you should not be doing. Virginia says, Tommy, sorry, but I think you would look funny walking your cat down the street. I get a lot of really funny looks when I have the cat out on the leash, even on the lawn. A lot of people drive by and just look at me like, that's insane. But you got to get up, because the doing the exact opposite of what needs to be done is going to drive you back into addiction. That's the only thing I'm doing. Same 4 walls. You know what? It's not unique. That's everybody, right? It's amazing what just getting outside will do. For real. They've done all kinds of research on this. It is absolutely remarkable, but this is a true story, right? This has been researched. Let's say you do a gram of Coke every single day, and you do it in a needle, right? Put in a spoon, draw 1 gram, slam it. That rush and that comes on. Absolutely unbelievable, right? You do it every day. A year, 6 months, 9 months. You're doing it in the bathroom, or you're doing it in the kitchen, you do it in the same place, right? It's part of that ritual. You do it every single day. If they take you and you shoot that gram somewhere you've never been, it can kill you. Because you become so accustomed to this, right? The same 4 walls, the same ritual. It's such a part of what you do that your brain is way more relaxed in there. Even when you're shooting it with some unbelievable drug, it is so relaxed because this is the environment that it knows. Well, when you're trying to get sober, you don't want that, right? The last thing in the world you want is the same 4 walls that you have been staring at, that have been a part of your ritual. Get outside, right? Take really deep breaths, right? Change your environment. Change your reality. Walk outside. Feel a little wind on your face. It will change your life. But if you sit there and stare at the same 4 walls, your brain is going to take over, and you're going to think really rotten thoughts until you talk yourself into going and getting a bag, a bottle, whatever it is you're doing. Seven Sun says, both of my parents were alcoholics. I have 8 siblings, 7 of which are alcoholics. The brother that's not is only because he developed cancer of his kidneys. He lost 70% of his kidneys. Good Lord, that's awful. But probably a really good thing that he's not abusing alcohol, because that would just be awful. Niall says, Captain Tommy will never turn anyone away from the lifeboat. You can be drunk, stoned, or high, but are desperate to get well. Once you're not rude, you are home. Amen. Couldn't have said that better myself. And this is home. It really is. This is a place where you're not going to get judged. You're not going to get judged even if you're still using. We want very much for you to stop, right? It's our fondest desire for you, because we really feel like we found the antidote, right? We found the cure. Sorry. We found the cure for a rotten life, right? And the cure is sobriety. Now, you can blow that really easily. Sobriety has to become a very, very large part of who you are. Seventh says, welcome home. Yeah, I love it. It has to become a very large part of who you are. It has to become your number one focus. Really. People get angry at me for that one too. I get emails all the time. It says you got to put God before everything. I am a very, very religious guy. But I put heroin in front of everything, including God. I put heroin before everything, which means if I don't put my sobriety before everything, I'll be putting the heroin before everything ever again. Right? It'll be right back there. So the first thing on the list has got to be, sobriety. And, I have people all the time that say to me, from a YouTube standpoint, I started off in the beginning and saying I'm not great at this YouTube thing. From a YouTube standpoint, it's really stupid to do 7 shows a week. Stupid. You do an hour a day, 7 days a week. It's the worst model in the entire world for a YouTube channel. Why? Because the average person goes, I don't need to watch it tonight. I'll be there tomorrow. Right? I don't need to catch this. You want to get views, you only put up 1 a week. Right? You put up 1 a week, everybody all shows up for the first one. What that does is gets the big red button to go, wow, look at how many people showed up. And then the algorithm kicks in and it starts pushing you out even more because they go, this is a great product. The problem with that? The problem with that is addicts need an hour a day. That's it. And this is just as much about me as it is about you. This is just as much about me staying sober as it is helping all of you get sober. And an hour a day. Death was after me, but he got stuck in traffic. I'm good for a while. I love that. That's funny as hell. Hey, TLR 123. We hope to see you back here. We'll. What does Tom Bodette say? We'll leave the light on. Yeah. Yeah, everybody's giving out a good night. I like it. Stacy, I like that one too. I thought that was pretty funny. Let me see here. I thought he slipped on your snot. Lovely. YouTube goes against a lot of things that are common sense. Yeah. And you know what? And so does the lifeboat. But this is, I think as a YouTuber, I'm pretty good at staying sober. I don't know how good I am at YouTube, but I wanted to be accountable to a lot of people. I thought that was a way that was really going to keep me sort of on the straight and narrow. You can't BS, 7 hours a week in front of a camera. People are going to go, oh man, he's slipping. Right? Oh man, he's using, or whatever the case may be. It's going to be pretty damn obvious, when I'm on here nodding out. It's probably going to be difficult to convince people that everything is normal, right? Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe not the greatest YouTuber, but pretty happy running the lifeboat. I don't really care much about the big red button. I really don't. Hey, DJ Daddy-O, Mr. T, how you doing? Hi, everyone. Been listening while working. Another hot one tonight. Keep fighting the good fight, everybody. Yeah, exactly. Keep fighting the good fight. We're not going to win every one of them. And I don't just mean addicts, right? I mean you. There are going to be days that we don't win this fight. There are going to be days that we're miserable. It's going to happen. But if at the end of the day, you didn't use dope, then you won. For real. I did not mean it to sound that, come on here, any state of intoxication. That is not what No, we knew what you meant, Niall. We knew exactly what you meant. You're cool. You're cool. I think everybody knew. People, that brings us to the top of the hour. And going to a birthday party. A very, very young girl's birthday party. Kind of important. So I'm going to sign off. People, I will be back tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, back to the normal time. I really appreciate everybody getting on here tonight. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody. It's important. I am Captain Tommy Scoville. And that is a cat in a basket. Good night, everybody. We love you. Let me get Squirrel settled here. Good night, everyone.